Ricky Ross. More girl, more blocks, we grind, I shine.